of all, I would like to thank Alejandra and Joshua for organizing the magnificent event last evening. The part of the protocols of the region where I am from, it is inappropriate for us, especially as a traditional leader, to speak in another place without proper permission and the blessings of the ancestors whose bones are in the ground. So if no such person were here for me to address, I could not talk. So fortunately, it just so happened it was organized and that this group of amazing people, and I can just sense the mana. Mana is energy from the universe, and that guides our lives, resonating from the sound of music. And so what occurred yesterday was, I said, well, will he be here this morning so I can go through the proper protocol of respect? And he said, no, they won't be here. I said, oh, okay. Can you do it now? And he said, well, I can't do it to an empty place. And so at the last minute, unplanned, and spontaneous as life is in reality, it occurred there. So the courtesy of the protocol was extended. And in our culture, humility is nobility. That's why I sat on the floor. You don't stand in the presence of others, that you are showing respect so that your head is above theirs. So, thank you for that. That makes it whole. One of the things we discussed last night is the concept of wholeness. We live wholeness in our culture. But I noticed there's a distinction between curing and healing. And oftentimes the nuances create conflict or misunderstanding. Curing is removing all evidence of the disease, the broken hand, mended. You remove all evidence of the fact that you broke your hand. Healing is to make whole again. So for example, you could be cured, but not healed. The best example of this is, I'm from a warrior line. He said we have many of our men going to the military and they fight all over the world. Many are wounded. Many are cured of their wounds, but until they come home, they're not healed. And so they're walking wounded, even though the external, the physical has been cured. But wholeness means your soul, your spirit, your heart, your environment, your family. That's wholeness. Only that can heal, nothing else. And your mana, your God, whoever that may be. And so it's not unusual that I sit down in the context of a higher educational university. I deliberately wanted to study Western thought, philosophy, and theory because I wanted to know how this people think. And so by understanding that, I can understand how I can relate to them and how I can communicate and associate. And so the issues become very easy when I see why some things don't work. In Polynesia, healing and curing are very distinct. They're not just subtle nuances. They are very distinct dimensions of the life process. And so what I see often is we tend to create and design programs to heal when actually they're only focused on curing. And then you wonder why. Man, we cured all the bullet holes, we cured all the trauma from the body, etc. But there's still a problem. What's wrong? Well, curing, again, it's not the same thing as healing. And then we look at, and again, part of the importance of my role is I was raised on a coastal village island most of my life. The closest form of communications was a very large radio with one wire we tack up on a coconut tree, and we can communicate and hear about the rest of the world. Which was a blessing in disguise because my education was guided by the elders, by my grandmothers. In fact, every elder is called a grandmother. Every young, mature woman is called a mother. In fact, in our culture, we have a term called ilamua. And this is very interesting because it helped shape my perspective on issues that are now gender related that I thought were very interesting, but I brought a different perspective. We are a warrior society. In fact, my ancestors' title was Magnificent Warrior, known for his brutality and his ferociousness. And so this carried on, but then until you sit down with the elders, you will learn something that we are a warrior tradition, we are a warrior people, but our greatest warrior was a woman. That brings a different perspective when we look at being a warrior. I was sharing last night, I was at a panel in which they were discussing violence and war, etc. And I was one of four. And the question was, what is the symbolic creature or legendary animal in your culture that signifies war and might and power? So the first person said, oh, the wild boar. The second person from Asia said, it's the dragon. Another person from a different continent said, it is the tiger. Another one, the lion. And I was the last, and so they asked, what mythological creature or living creature signifies power, ferocity, the spirit of the warrior? And I said, the chicken. And everybody started laughing. And I said, think about it. The home island I'm from is called Samoa. Sa means sacred, Moa means center, but it also means hen. If you can imagine a hen with its brood and 6 roosters feeding, and a wild dog should appear, what do you think the 6 mighty roosters would do? They're out of there. But what will the hen do? In the face of the teeth of destruction, she will fly straight at it. Because protection, defending and protecting that which is sacred to the hen, brings out the ferocity of spirit that my ancestors saw. Hence the Moa. So when you look at issues that start to say masculine this, masculine that, it doesn't register from my cultural lens. Ilamua, and from that, the founder, the legend that become deified of a great warrior is a woman. And so, centuries later, the definition, I'm now an associate professor at the University of Hawaii, coming from a bush island out of nowhere that never seen a television, much less operated a computer. And there I was, listening and seeing. The real significance, I believe, is when we lose the ancient connection of our concept of mother. Let me give you an example. The word for dirt is ile today, and also for the other word is pala. The other word for stone is ma. The word for land is fanua. These are the modern terminologies. What are the ancient meanings? Well, you're not going to find them at the library. You go to your elders. Ele and pala is the ancient word for blood. Fanua is the ancient word for placenta. You see where I'm going with it? Even in our language, the origins of our islands and of our people is birthed by a mother, and we call her Moana. And so our concept of Ilamua that I was raised with is that the most sacred person in your family is your grandmother, followed by your mother, followed by your aunties, then followed by your sister. And so the level of respect and reverence that we have is very different. I'll tell you what, you insult or say a vulgar word in the presence of an Ilamua and there's a son, nephew, or even just a strange someone, they'll pound you instantly, or at least they used to. Yeah, it's generations. But anyway, the point being, these connections, these relationships have been nurtured through our families. And so our concept of love and peace and harmony is deeply rooted in the love of our mother, in the love of the earth. And we personify love through the female, not the male. And so you can imagine what I'm doing sitting at a table of guys who are really into the macho thing. This is their entitlement, that's how you are raised. But in my world, this is where we are able to do and live in closest to balance and harmony as we can. So what is it that you should seek? Our advice, my advice, I talk to very young, is first, understand the difference between healing and curing. If you don't know the difference, wait until you do. Practice until you do. Learn until you do. The second thing, learn to respect your mother, not female in particular, but Mother Earth in its universal sense. Your Mother Earth, your grandmother, those who give life and who nurture life, and who will not hesitate to protect the life. In fact, it was very curious. There was a moment, I think it was in some military, it was the United States military did not want women to go into combat. And so, of course, our people felt this was understandable, but they would quietly encourage our women to try to get into combat roles. Well, now, we have women defending and protecting the nation, defending and protecting their communities, defending and protecting society in a good way, whether as military or as peace officers or police people or people of that nature. When you learn to respect the mother in the generic sense, and then there are the four, we call them the four tofa. Tofa means wisdom. There are many wisdoms in all societies, ours also. But the four main tofa have guided my life. In spite of the fact that I'm a recovering academic, what keeps me online in my journey are the tofas that I learned growing up. You have four tofas that are expected of every member of the village, regardless of your gender, regardless of your stature. The first tofa, or the first wisdom, they're all plural, is the wisdom of humility. Regardless of how high or how low, the greater our leaders, the more humble they are. I learned that. I sat on the floor before this man yesterday. That is an example of humility. Followed by embracing. You engage with humility. And the second tofa is called the tofa, alo, means then you embrace with respect. Then the tofa alofa, you sustain with the wisdom of love. And then there's the fourth tofa, that you heal with forgiveness. Very simple. And the fifth tofa, the fifth wisdom, is the wisdom of the warrior, the wisdom of the leader. Good leaders lead, great leaders heal. So you are all good leaders, I'm sure, but I'm also confident that among you are great leaders. So in that context, it's very important that you understand these. Very simple. And I find that in many different cultures, there's a semblance of that kind of thing that are also taught to the young. So I get a scholarship from the government. I'm about to leave, and all my elders are sitting there in the village, in the hut. And they select one person to speak for me. And so the eldest then says, Tusi. I didn't earn Papalii until much later. I was just a kid. Bear in mind this journey beyond the horizon. But bear in mind these four responsibilities so that you may harvest these knowledges and responsibilities on your journey there and to bring it home. The first is that engage in all things that can assure that our children are well fed and healthy. Learn what do they do over there that we are not doing over here, so we can work on that. So the first responsibility is to the children. The second, learn and do or even share and see to it. How do they respect, love, and care for their elders? Third, see to it. How do their women live without fear? And fourth, see and learn to it. how do they respect and care and heal our mother? Those are my 4 mission objectives on my journey to America on a government scholarship. Just retired last year. I'm back. I've learned much, and so my greatest challenge is working with a whole new generation. Generations that were, many of them have been affected by processed imported foods. 90% of food in Hawaii, for example, is imported. It's amazing. In the islands, less than 10%, because we grow everything and we feed ourselves. And so with these responsibilities, they're nothing new. I'm sure this is not the first time you've heard of them, but we all need constant reminders that we have a higher responsibility, and that there are truly things that are greater than self, that can not only change you as a person, but can truly help to change the world. So, my wife's over there looking. That's my wife, Linda. So she's over looking at them. She said, "You're talking too much." So the challenge today is how can we touch the hearts and souls of those that can really make a difference, and they are our young leaders, our youth, our children. I'm amazed when I see the negotiations at the geopolitical level, to the regional level. The emphasis continues to be transactional. Our style is relational. So when you engage in transactional processes, you're basically engaging in a methodology that has its root in the industrial complex. So transaction means exchange, negotiation for something of value. Relational is very different. Relational is engaging in a manner that is meaningful. How? Through spiritual exchanges, cultural exchanges. Something as simple as sharing food and water. Something as simple as hospitality. Something as simple as engaging with respect, with humility, with aloha, and with healing. Not all too difficult, but the most important impact that can be made in this regard is not by understanding the principles, but practicing and acting upon them. Oh, I'm sorry. That is this, what happened was, I had forgotten my thumb drive. And so this morning, I said, oh my God. Anyway, so I redid the thumb drive because to share with you some visuals. The eye, if you can go back one more, that is the eye of wisdom in our world. It's the eye of the whale. The mana from the whale is considered sacred. So that's the eye. The eye welcomes you. Okay. And the next one is the slide. That is the region that at the University of Hawaii I worked with. So I led the economic development in the region for the University of Hawaii. But economic development within the context of the cultural realities of the region. That's why I stayed with them, and I'm very pleased that they did, and they are continuing to do so. It's a big area, 60 million square miles, and we're from very, very small islands. But the point I wanted to point there, my ancestors were able to sail 1,000 miles to a little dot in the middle of nowhere. Find it, come back, and then sail and find it again. You cannot do that today without highly sophisticated technology. The point I'm bringing here is that wisdom is deeply rooted in ritual, in ceremony, and in protocol. They are embedded. And yet the first things that they eliminate when they try to seek control of an area, get rid of the rituals, get rid of the symbols, get rid of the protocols. Yeah, the next thing. And so my people sailed. We are voyagers. This is very important because the larger the canoe, the larger the sail. What is the significance of that? It helped define leadership. The warriors defined leadership. Our Nathan was her name. By being great is by your ability to heal. Our voyagers define leadership from a different context. We use the word weave. When you hear the word weave, I was in California a couple of years ago. The image that's conjured in your head is we weave a basket. But from a voyaging people, when you say weave, we weave sails. Because those sails are woven by using bandana sleeves, mats. And so how do you weave, how large is a sail for a 70-foot canoe? It's huge. So it will require at least 30, 40 people in a straight line weaving together forward, guided by mana, skills and abilities to attune to each other so the weave is straight and moves forward, because if the weave is off, you endanger the voyage in some time in the future. And so leadership, concept of leadership emerged from this. We don't weave forward alone. You don't lead alone. We weave forward together. And so leadership for us is a process of sharing and collaboration. We weave together and we weave forward. So the concept of healing, concept of weaving, help to define what leadership means. There is a third component there that goes back to the tofa, fa'amangalo, which is the wisdom of healing of forgiveness. We have a ritual that's called the ifoma. If you commit murder, in our society, that can result in a massive flow of blood for many different reasons. But understanding that, the way in which this can be healed is that the perpetrator who killed the person, the victim, his greatest sacred symbol, which may be his mother or his grandmother or even the high chief of his village, would come before the victim's home draped with a mat over his head. The victim's leader, it could be a father, it could be the high chief, has the right to come with a club, smash your head, kill you on the spot. They will then roll you up in the mat, take you home, and it's over. Or the aggrieved leader or parent can come down, remove the mat, grab the hand, and bring the person into the home where food is prepared. That was what we call fa'ama'amalo. By that act of forgiveness, it's over. The families and the villages then celebrate sharing food, and life goes on. So healing has been ritualized into our way of life. But the origin, you see that canoe? It's the one on the bottom. Our ancestors learned if one person is a problem with an attitude or with a behavior, the entire crew is jeopardized, because every person is essential to getting that canoe to where it needs to go. So what do? You can punish the person, but you still are one person short. You can kill the person, throw him overboard, you're still one person short. So what is the alternative? We need to heal this. So that person then becomes back into the family. Becomes now a member of the crew. Now the entire voyage can successfully reach its destination. This is a powerful wisdom from our ancestors. How often do you hear forgiveness? Usually the most immediate action is almost a transactional one. Or I got a bigger gun than you do. But the issues here, again, it gets down to the profound sense of wisdom that is shared and passed on by our ancestors. Next slide, please. Those are the 4 priorities. Those are children of throughout Micronesia, Polynesia, and Melanesia. Tautua means service. Are our children, when you come back, with what you've learned, will our children be better fed and will they continue to be healthy? Next slide, please. Are our elders being cared for with love and respect? Will they continue to be treated as such when you come home? I had it was almost emotionally traumatizing for me when I was in school in Kansas. My friend invited me, hey, come to my home. I went to my home, my first question is, where's your grandparents? And they weren't there. And I said, did they die? Oh, no, they're fine. No. Where are they? They were at a place where old people go. I did not know what that was. So that was my very first experience. So, where do you learn caring, compassion, and respect? It's by caring for those who need it. People with disabilities, your elders, one of the issues, I'm at the business school, and one of the problems was, a lot of the interns were training to train trainers. They're really good academically, but they have problems. And I said, you know what? Part of their experience they must spend with working with children with disabilities, or working with in a resto. Until you can learn patience, compassion, and kindness, you're just this. Anybody can recite the principles of leadership and go through the process. But it's what we're not teaching, it's here. And yet it's so fundamental, staring you in the face. Look at those, if you're caring for your loved ones at home, aloha. If you're not, there are many circumstances why that cannot be, but visiting them often is always a good thing. Third one, please, next one. Are women living without fear? That is a very huge priority. My responsibility as a traditional leader, as a father, as a grandfather, that my boys and every man in the village understands that. So, and then there's point 8, you got 1 minute. One more, next slide please. That is becoming more, that's our mother. That's part of the scars and the types of things that is happening to her in many different places, in many different ways. Healing is so essential. Use your education in technology, business development, so you can generate revenues. Move it and direct it in ways that can help heal our mother. If she's not healed, believe me, we will be. Next one, please. That's my son and my grandson and my great-grandson. So they are my priorities, as they should yours. And they can symbolize all the sons and daughters and grandchildren etc. of the world. That they are our greatest and sacred treasure. It's our responsibility to care for them. Next one, please. Is that it? Oh, sorry. And thank you all, especially having Linda accompany me. It's been a real blessing for us. We have never seen such hospitality. I was sharing, one of my elder friends, he's in his 80s. So he emailed me and said, "Hey, brother, how's it over there?" And I said, "Brother, much aloha." So that means everywhere we went, how we've been treated and hosted has been with wonderful aloha and kindness. And we thank you all for that. So, mahalo. I would dance, but my dancing days are over. Or questions or whatever. Yes.
I was on a call with a collective of African healers, peace builders, who are really talking about how we move forward. And we're the generation who are moving into elders, but we don't know how to do it. We haven't been taught. It's like there's a missing place. In Kenya today, our elders have become politicians, and they're not being elders. And we're not teaching the new elders. So we're teaching the youth, and the youth are challenging us, but the elders are missing. Any ideas?
Every situation is different. The challenge of engaging elders, you can wait for the elders, or do what's always been done in the past, take the initiative. You don't have to be an elder to be wise. I know many elders who are not wise. They're just funny. But again, in ancient times, a person is an elder not because of age, but by what? But by mana. Let me give you an example. There are actions that you do that come from you. And there are things that happen and guide you that come through you. Mana comes through you. And you don't have to be a traditional leader or a president or a politician. Mana can come through a high school student, a little girl. You will know these individuals when you are in their presence. Don't wait for the structure that you can identify, sense, attune. Because mana recognizes nothing other than aloha. And if it's in you, it'll come through you. So don't wait. Take the initiative. For those cultures and societies that have elders that do this, you are blessed. Nurture them, support them. See to their health and to their comfort, because they are a living treasure. For those who have none, it doesn't mean it's not there. Attune to the fact that it will come through, or it has always been coming through, is that we may be attuned to the wrong things and not able to sense its presence. Did you have a question?
Papalii, could you explain, is this on? Can you hear me? Yes. Check. No, this one works.
Thank you. Just could you explain what is the difference between mana and aloha?
Mana is a term that's recognized throughout all of Polynesia, throughout our family. And it means the spiritual energy of the universe. Yeah. So it resonates from the universe. Aloha comes from your heart. So when I say aloha, it's coming from my heart. When I say bless you, I hope I'm worthy that mana flow through me to come to you.
Beautiful. And mahalo?
Mahalo means, right on? No, just means thank you. It's a high form of thank you.
Gracias.
I'm very curious to ask you, being a professor of business,
Yeah.
and with all this wisdom in connecting with nature, so what are your thoughts about what needs to change in business education for us to be able to respect nature with business, and through business?
What needs to change? It's like saying, what do we need to change the weather? The most fundamental thing that needs to change is what's in the heart. Let me give you an example. We are so obsessed with structure and function and design. You know, it's like, if we set up a structure, then we can be sure that it is rational and we can design a process so we can get from A to B efficiently. You know, and the function is, these are the desired outcomes that are measurable. One of the first things that I learned in trying to understand this other world was when I came to the university. was that they did not acknowledge the means of linguistic communications of my people and of myself. We speak in metaphor, analogy, and allegory. The university spoke in the scientific language of quantification, precision, and rational sequence and processing. So when you try to communicate this mechanical process with an organic one, it could leave people like me in the dust for a while until we can recover. So the challenge is not either or, but teaching by identifying, because not everything is negative. There are good qualities in A, and there are good qualities in B. And then a dilemma is when you have two conflicting perspectives. Take the best of both, discard the negative, combine them into a third option with value added. So it's never either or. It's a continuous synthesis of thought and thinking by taking the best of both worlds, discarding the negative, weaving it into a third option with value added. In time, that's going to become another issue at another time. And again, the process continues. I think it's called a dialectic. Yeah. Because there's no such thing as I come up with a solution. It's like you're at a shooting range and there are no moving targets. You can hit it every time, but life is constantly moving. So you may be prepared and developed to deal with this situation, but it's changed already. Yeah. So the ability to be flexible is very important. And also to acknowledge the world of the unseen. Because I was told by a professor, said, well, the problem with you people is you don't understand and you're incapable of abstract thinking. I said, what does that mean? Well, anyway, one of the most compelling statements, because I was reaching for the rational, mechanical hand of my new uncle and about to give up, release the hand of my organic mother. But then someone sent me a quote that changed my life. Because how do you argue against scientific documentation, literature? There's massive stuff, and all I have are stories about whales, sardines, and tuna, in trees. And the quote was that the intuitive mind is a sacred gift. The rational mind is a faithful servant. We've created a society where we have forgotten the gift and honored the servant. Albert Einstein. And when I saw that, I realized, wow, he was able to see beyond the horizon. And it reassured me that my type of understanding and learning is just a different form. It wasn't necessarily better or worse. It's just a different way of seeing, a different way of understanding, but it doesn't invalidate the fact that what we see is what we see.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Dr. Tusi. That was amazing. And wisdom and more things to keep chatting about together. Enjoying that you're here with us for the event as well.
Oh, the whale? It's called kohola. It means to lift to the light. And that is a newborn calf. The humpback mother, first thing is to lift it to the light. So the kohola, to seek the light, is a form of wisdom that we share with our children. May you kohola.